Fourth down, Newton's Law. But Peggy, we got a special guest today.
We do have a special guest indeed, Cam, and our special guest is a legendary sports broadcaster, best known as the longtime host of the Dan Patrick Show, a former anchor of SportsCenter during ESPN's glory days, and with a career spanning over 4 decades, he has become the most trusted and influential voices in sports media. We welcome Dan Patrick to 4th and 1. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to kick it off with a measure of fun, but keeping it respectful.
Yeah.
If you was a peer of mine, I would have called you Dantavius Patrick. But the respect that I have for you is Uncle Dantavius Patrick. You see what I'm saying? How we doing today? You doing all right?
I'm ready for the cookout.
Hey! Hey, now listen.
Let's see what he's bringing now.
Now, coming to the cookout, especially a cultural cookout, empty-handed is a no-no. All right?
You won't give him by
What
that.
would you bring to the cookout, Uncle Dan? And what should we be expecting?
I would, see, that's tricky because I want to compliment whatever's going to be there. I don't want to offend anybody by bringing something. I think I would just bring some nice tequila.
Okay.
And I would bring and I would bring a couple of nice cigars. I'd let the people who do the food, and those who do the drink. But if you want to have a cigar and some tequila, I think we're good to go.
Okay.
You gotta know your place now.
So this is taking me to a place where I need to insert the cultural one-on-ones that should happen, all right? Because it's not that, you don't know. It's that you need to know.
Okay.
Okay, Uncle Dan, if you were coming to a cookout, first and foremost, you have to come with the willingness to understand, and we call it in sports, you got to identify the mic. All right, you got to find your safeties.
Yep.
All right, you got to see who's big mama. All right, who's the person who's sensitive, who's the uncle that you're supposed to know, and who's really trying to identify you is like, who is that?
Yeah, who you can to?
You see
Who
what I'm
invited
saying?
you?
You can never go wrong with bringing cups. Never go wrong with bringing ice.
Yes.
You never can go wrong with bringing a dessert.
But you got to break that down because when you say the cups and the plates and stuff, you got to get the quality. Don't get the don't get the little small cups.
Don't get the
taste
kindergarten party cup.
Give me some solos.
Or don't
Hefty.
bring the doctor office mouthwash cups.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't do that.
Can't do that.
Okay.
Gotta bring
Then
some-
I'm trying to tell you, you can never go wrong with bringing some cigars. And, understanding like, man, I heard that somebody had,
Yeah.
You feel me? This is a no-no, though.
What's up?
Don't ever go to an unknowing cookout and then you start judging because you don't know who you judging to. You could be judging the husband of the wife that cooked the peas or cooked the tough ribs.
The potato salad.
You know what I'm saying? Like, these ain't good. If it ain't good,
Keep it to yourself. Come on now. Keep it to yourself, Uncle Dan.
Uncle Dan, I'm trying to keep.
I'm just gonna.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm walking in and I'm singing. I'm gonna be like Bobby Caldwell, and I'm gonna set the tone right away. I'm gonna set the tone right away.
Theme music.
Uh-huh.
I see where you.
I'd like to have. I'd like to have maybe, and maybe we do that Soul Train, that dance line.
Hey!
And I'm not afraid to ride the pony.
OG, Peggy.
He got this.
This why he the OG. But nevertheless, not to prolong the time. I really want to get your thoughts on a lot of things, but I'm gonna start with this. He's been a person that has probably been top 5 to top 10 storylines in the NFL.
Yeah.
But he hasn't started a game yet. Shedeur Sanders is what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
If I'm the Cleveland Browns, seeing what is transpiring now, I would love to understand your thought process of just how they're managing Shedeur. Is it a realistic situation for him to play this year? or what should we expect from your eyes?
Well, from what I'm told, Dylan Gabriel has been better, has played better, and is more ready, whatever that means. But this is what I was told. I think if you can sit and watch Flacco and understand preparing for the game, and look, Shador is not an athletic quarterback where he's going to play a different game. Obviously, he's more athletic than Flacco. But I said when they drafted him, I thought that he'd start a game this year. And hopefully he does, just to get that opportunity. I think what surprised me is when he manipulated the draft and told the Ravens not to draft him. That, to me, you're going to be in a first-class organization. You're going to learn from a lot of different people there. And I thought that might have been a better avenue. Instead of being in an organization that is not good at developing quarterbacks, ownership hasn't been good, team hasn't been good, you get bad habits. And I think being in a good organization and understanding top to bottom would have been more important. But I think he'll get a chance. I just don't know if you get a chance for a bad team, then people say, yep, see, told you he couldn't play.
Yeah. Right. Well, see, with that, hearing that he did not want to go to the Baltimore Ravens was a definite head scratcher. But when you have certain other details about that situation come out, when he does have the utmost respect for Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens were not the only team that was denied in that specific metrics, because from a player, or never mind the player, but from a competitor, you go into the draft with the idea that you want to go play, right? Everybody has this burning desire. I have on a Barry Sanders jersey because of the dominance of the Detroit Lions in Monday night's showcase. But this jersey showcases a name on the back, right? That's why every single player that's the dream. That's the expectation. Well, when you hear why Shador denied Baltimore, when you hear why Shador didn't want to go to Philadelphia, now leaving the thought to say, hey, Cleveland was my way to play sooner rather than later. Yes. Right. Do their management have questions? Yes. Does their, talent around them have enough questions? Yes. But that still doesn't deny the fact, as a man, to say, I still yet want to have an opportunity to definitely play. But this is the thing, too, that I would want to hear your perspective on, Mr. Dan, is this. Would the Cleveland Browns would have been wrong for cutting Shador Sanders?
Well, it depends on how many quarterbacks you were going to keep. But once, you had a quarterback room with 3, then, I think they would have been wrong to cut him. I don't know if there was enough sample size. We did see him play well, and then we saw him play poorly. And he's probably somewhere in between. He's like all other college quarterbacks. They try to be the college quarterback in the pros, and you can't do it. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the one thing I saw with Shador. You can't escape. You got to get the ball out. You got to live to see another play, like all of these things. And it's not just him. Cam Ward's going through this now. Yeah. Jackson Dart's going to go through this. You think you have more time, and you don't. And I think Dylan Gabriel, from what I was told, was better at doing that early in his career there with the Browns. But I hope Shador gets an opportunity. I voted him 3rd in the Heisman. I had that much respect for what I saw with him. He took a lot of punishment, some of it brought on by himself. But from what I've been told by all accounts, he's handled himself quite well in Cleveland by learning, by listening, and not trying to play the "don't you know who I am" card.
Yeah. Well, just even to that, and Deion just came out recently and said it's hard to gain experience from the bench, right? And I know you said that Baltimore would have been a better spot for Cleveland, but we all know that Lamar Jackson is there. And so even with that, I know you said that Cleveland doesn't really build a quarterback, but the experience factor, how much do you think that really would weigh in versus Shador sitting for X amount of years if he would have went to Baltimore or Philadelphia?
Well, Flacco is not going to be there next year. I wouldn't think. But they have 2 first-round picks in what is supposed to be a quarterback-heavy draft. I don't even know if he's going to get an opportunity with Cleveland. But I think being in an organization, to understand an organization top to bottom, to learn how to be a pro and watch whether it was Jalen Hurts or it was going to be Lamar Jackson, I think it's really important. I tell people when we watch a football game on TV, it looks really easy. Like these quarterbacks, those guys are wide open. But it's not. I said, if you ever stood on the sidelines of an NFL game, number one, you would never play the game.
That's true.
Or you wouldn't want your kid to play the game. And you also realize just how fast those guys are. It is so quick. And that's the one thing I think, the speed of the game they talk about. And every great quarterback talks about the game slows down. I slow the game down. Montana talked about that. It took me a little while, but when you know where to go, when to get the ball out, who you can trust, then everything slows down. Shedeur might not get that opportunity with Cleveland. I just don't want him to get in a situation where he gets sacked 3 times and throws 2 interceptions and people say, I told you he couldn't play. I think he can play, but I do think he has to wait a little bit. I wouldn't want to put him in now, but that doesn't mean he won't be playing by the end of the year.
Yeah, well, wanting that person to play and having an opportunity, a realistic opportunity, is 2 different things. I want to shift gears real quick. Are you buying into the Daniel Jones, or as they call it, Indiana Jones hype?
Yeah, I thought that they were going to be a playoff team and he would be a Pro Bowl quarterback this year. Said that at the beginning of the year.
Before the season?
Yes. That's a good team. That's a good team. Okay, they were on the cusp of making the playoffs. They play in a bad division, and he's out of New York. He had a pit stop in Minnesota, and now maybe in being in Indianapolis, that he would have he can be talented. Okay, he tries to do too much, and has fumbles, fumble issues, those kind of things. And I think you got Jonathan Taylor, who might be the least talked about best player in the game. And you've got receivers, and it felt like an easier way of life for him. In New York, it was everything under a microscope. But I said I thought they were going to be a playoff team this year, and I still feel that way because they do have weapons. They almost made the playoffs last year, and that division isn't very good.
Yeah. And you said, like, even while you were speaking, you were talking about he got out of New York. And I wanted to highlight that some. It's like, how much does the New York media play an effect on the players, I guess what you would say was playing, because the lights are brighter. They're hotter in New York. And we also see in New York it's hard for quarterbacks develop from these past few years. Now you have Russell Wilson there. Daniel Jones was there. He's balling out this year. But talk about what's going on in New York and how hard is it to play for an organization like that, especially with so much hard media scrutiny?
You got to be wired for it. Yeah. You just have to be ready for it, because I think it can be overwhelming, the expectation level. The Giants are still looking for their next Eli Manning. The Jets are still looking for their next Joe Namath. I mean, those are tough acts to follow. Both are Hall of Famers, and the Jets haven't had anything for a long, long time. The Giants had 2 seasons with Eli. Other than that, they didn't have any playoff runs. It's so important to have winners in New York. The Knicks have been trying, and they're trying to live up to a team that won a championship in 1973. It's just the light is burning. There's no other city like it. There's no other market like it. They want results. Bottom line, we want a winner. The Mets better make the playoffs. Your owner is one of the richest guys in the world. Billionaires buy everything, and they try to buy a championship. The Yankees with George Steinbrenner and everything that, George, he was firing people all the time. So there is a bottom line mentality that is you won't find it any other place in America.
Man, listen, as we're having this conversation, I don't think that a lot of people can appreciate your understanding of the sport through your lens and how much you've covered and in the type of sports that you've covered over time, right? You've been in this game long enough, which makes you, quote unquote, the OG, but more or less, what would be a golden era time in sports that looking back in your career or looking back in just sports as a whole, people may have forgot, during this time you had these athletes, these boxing matches, these, whatever it may be, could you please, kind of highlight those times and what era of sports would you consider the golden age of the sports era?
I don't know if I'd have a golden age. I know that I was in New York in the 80s. So you had the Giants winning a Super Bowl. You had the Mets winning. I covered a lot of boxing. I was there at Sugar Ray Leonard's first retirement. I think he had 7 of them. But Roberto Duran, Vito Anafirmo, Marvelous Marvin Hagler. I got to cover Tyson fights. I interviewed Mike when he was 21 years of age to go to those fights, to be around Ali when Ali first, when they found out he had Parkinson's, and I covered the story. Just that being in New York in the 80s was pretty remarkable because there was something, the Big East. I mean, the best basketball conference in history. Yeah. And you got Big John there, and you had Louis Carnesecca, Syracuse. I mean, everybody, Providence, everybody, Villanova. There was just something. There was something going on at all times. So for me, that's where I grew up. I've been doing this 43 years now, and that's where I grew up. That's where I got my balls, where I go, okay, I can go into a locker room. I can get yelled at by Bill Parcells. I can get yelled at by George Steinbrenner. Lawrence Taylor can threaten me. It didn't matter. It's like, this is part of the game. I got to have some scars. Got to have some scars. It's okay.
Go ahead. I really wanted to chime in on, obviously, the Manning last name. I know we talked about, Eli.
By the way, I do have my Barry Sanders jersey here.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, hold on. Let me go get my Barry Sanders.
That's a classic.
Oh, my God. I mean, this going to really get him at the cookout.
This going.
You see what I'm saying? Now, that's a flex.
Yeah.
Now, that's a flex. Say less.
There's no Mitchell and Ness. That's the real deal.
Some could only imagine, Uncle Dan.
Not bad, huh?
Not bad at all.
Not bad. Especially
I got the one that says B. Sanders on it. B. Sanders. I don't know why. There was no other Sanders, I don't think, to worry about there, but that's my signed Barry Sanders jersey.
Did you collect a lot of jerseys over the years?
If you could, yes. So I have Favre, Marino, Goff, Reggie Miller, Gretzky, Adam Sandler from The Water Boy, Tom Brady, Buccaneers. I got Durant, Steve Nash, Kobe. I collect a lot of. I never threw anything away. I even have a hold on here.
He really, bro. Listen, this gives him a critique badge,
bro. What?
If he's at the cookout, if he pulls out,
hey,
you can judge the potato salad with that one, not the mac and cheese, not the potato salad with that.
Potato salad for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Come on, Uncle Dan.
Yeah, come on, Dantavius. Yes,
there
sir.
You go.
Hey,
Dantavius Caldwell Patrick.
Listen. Hey, check this out, though.
Look at that.
Listen, I always love to kind of peel back the layers and dive into what you deem is noteworthy for you to respect a player.
Yeah.
You've seen players in so many different elements, from the locker room, the semantics of just being a beat writer, obviously legendary performances. No matter what it is, how does Dan Patrick get awarded the respect from a player that you kind of judge and critique him on, or she?
You always have an opportunity to come on my show. If you feel like I said something, you can come on. If I treated you unfairly and you want to talk privately, I would make myself available. Anytime I try to go into as many locker rooms as possible because I want to be fair to the player, because it's easy to hit and run or hide. And if I said something and I meant it, then I would show up. I had to back up my words. And I think players respect that, okay, you're willing to say that and stand up, in front of those or behind those words. And I always want players to do the same. I've been able to cover so many sporting events, but the guy who talks after a loss, that's where the respect comes in, because Bill Buckner had the ball go through his legs in the '86 World Series, and they would have won the World Series. If he catches the ball, they win the World Series. Well, I go in the locker room, and who is sitting there and sat there for every question but Bill Buckner did? Mitch Williams gave up a home run to Joe Carter when Toronto won the World Series. Well, who answered every question after that? They lost the World Series on his pitch. Mitch Williams was there to answer every question. It's not easy, but I love that you win, you lose. I mean, that's what it is. And if you can at least be there to explain or talk about, I have great admiration for it. Not everybody's built that way. It doesn't happen very often. But when somebody does that, you have my respect forever. And those are just a couple of guys who I have great respect for.
Has it gotten to a point that players see that you're just doing your job as you critique them, or do they continuously take it personal? Like, have you seen a change in that?
Steve Smith Sr. was on the show recently, and he said something about he was in his feelings because I criticized him over something that he had said on NFL Network. And I'm like, all right, it's just part of the game. I mean, this is what I do. I don't have any bias towards anybody. It's just like, if I see it, then I say, I don't go out of my way. I don't do hot takes. I don't go out of my way to criticize somebody. I didn't play at a high level, but I played baseball and basketball. So I do understand. We fail all the time, but I just want to be, I have to be observant, and I have to be fair. I'm not afraid of calling somebody to ask about something if I didn't understand it, or maybe somebody had a bad game, or maybe somebody threw an interception and I didn't understand it, because it's real easy to sit here with a clicker and go, that guy's garbage. That guy's, he's done. I'm like, you got to be fair. You've got to be fair. And there are times when maybe I haven't been, and I've been called on it, but I will answer the phone. If you want to yell at me, fine. But let me come back, because I might have something to say as well. But that's what sports is. It's give and take. And, the athlete doesn't have to be the opponent. It just, we're both doing our jobs. Hopefully we're both professional in how we do our jobs, but that's the approach. I wanted to have a long shelf life. And that's why I didn't want to be gimmicky. I don't want to do hot takes. I just wanted to, I love sports too much that I want to see the good of a sport. I'm not sitting there going, boy, I love it when the Cowboys lose. If the Cowboys win, it's great. If the Cowboys lose, it's great. Duke basketball, Notre Dame football. If you win, great. If you don't, it's still, good content. And I'm in the content business.
Yeah, you and me both. I'll take it here. Recently, within the last month, we've heard a legendary actor respond in a way that said, just do something. A lot of these people sit behind their mics and get fat. Like, what do you do, right? From a person who did not play professional sports, and you hear a guy like Denzel Washington make a statement like that, what would your response, or how do you feel, and do you take that response personal?
Oh, no, I didn't. It's his opinion. Mm-hmm. Like you're only bothered, if he was talking about me and saying, you know what, you sit there on your high horse and, what do you know? Um, I don't like when an athlete says, well, you never played. Because if I said to an athlete who's never been in TV, hey, you don't know how to do TV. Like, how dare you do TV? You can't do TV the way I mean, that's not fair. It's silly. But just because I didn't play the game doesn't mean I can't understand the game. Doesn't mean I can't ask somebody about the game, because knowledge is so powerful. And if Denzel feels like, and he might have been tweaking First Take, he might have been, like you guys just sit there and, spout off things. And I've had conversations with Denzel, but it was about basketball and acting. But if he said something, I would say, come on the show and I'll talk to you about it. I've been in 22 Adam Sandler movies. It's not like he's saying to me, hey, what are you doing? You can't act. I mean, people get an opportunity to do this, and if they can do it well, they stay. This is supply and demand. They either want to listen to you or they don't. There's no in between. And that's where you go, okay, and then people move on. They let you know. But if Denzel felt that way, good. I'm glad that he gets fired up about it.
Yeah. Well, even to that point, like as you're talking, that's an ongoing debate. And I'll admit this. I've never had so much affinity and respect to journalists now than I've ever had. Being a member of the media, you start to say like, yo, I remember the first time when we talked, I was like, bro, we got off that phone or we got off the Zoom and I told, Peggy, I'm like, bro, he's such a sword. Like he asked some of the most simple, piercing questions. And it was, but why though? Yeah. Why don't you think that you're a starting quarterback in this league? And I'm like, did he really just ask me that? Yeah. But it was the tone, it was the voice inflection. It was so many different things that I knew I need to learn that, right? And that's going to make me a better person for TV, for content, just for being a better parent, for Christ's sake, right? Yeah. When you're hearing this constant controversy of athlete versus journalist and athlete, what should we talk about that we're not talking about, right? I mean, we've seen multiple examples, and I'm not going to get in specifics, but for every athlete, we always have that ace of spade or that joker card that's just say, hey, you know what, Dontavius, what did you do? And then Dontavius can point back at me and was like, Cam, respectfully, you're only getting views because of your resume. That doesn't mean you're good, right? So when you hear this debate about journalist, athlete, journalist, what's the thought?
I hope that the opinions are well-based, well-researched, because you can just say, man, you threw so many interceptions by being, careless or what. Like, that's not fair to you to throw a blanket over you. If I said, hey, I spoke to somebody who played against you and they said this was the book on you. Okay, at least I've been fair to you in coming up with an opinion on something. Mm-hmm. Instead of just saying, man, I'm watching this and, he can't throw. He's not consistent in the pocket or whatever the criticism might be. Oh, he loves to run it too much. I have to be fair in that. And then I hope that the athlete continues to call out members of the media for us to do our homework, because I think there's less journalism going on now. I mean, we're making a big deal about Pablo Torre and the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard. Yeah. Well, that used to be what our business was. It was journalism. It was reporting. It was trying to find out what was going on. And I think there's less and less of that, because I think there's more and more just, let me throw out a hot take. Yeah. And I don't think that's fair to the people who are doing this and doing this in a very high wire act.
Yeah, I want to say this real quick, Peg, because the ongoing statement is, oh, don't get too personal, right? And I want everybody to understand, anytime you're using that individual as an example, that's the person getting personal with the athlete, right? Well, Cam, you never went to the playoffs. Well, Cam, you never won a Super Bowl. That's almost like a backhanded compliment, or that's a very hide your hand moment, but you're getting personal. So therefore, that triggers any athlete to say, well, what did you do? The point that I made a couple weeks ago in regards to this topic is, we all as humans want this, and it still bleeds over and stays true to athletes and journalism. We all want to be respected. When you take a thought and say, hey, well, you didn't do this, or your career was very mid, or like minimum to the greats, do you consider yourself great? Well, that's going to trigger a response from a person to say, like, what gives you the right to say that? Yeah, I didn't do these things, but I got to the NFL, right? And when you get into that trigger back and forth banter, it comes off as disrespectful, and it's extremely personal in a way that's indirect. And I don't think a lot of people understand what they do, but in any circumstance, those type of interactions will never end up healthy. And I don't think a lot of people understand what they do in that, because for the longest, and still to this day, it's when Cam talks about athletes, well, what did Cam Newton do? Why does Cam Newton dress the way he dressed? Why does he have on this crazy top hat, right? Who does he think he is to be able to label quarterbacks in a way that gives him the right? Well, they don't say that about Dan Patrick. They don't say that about Skip Bayless. They don't say that about Colin Cowherd. They don't even say that about Stephen A. Smith. But you will receive his critique. And I think for athletes, as we're becoming members of the media, it is incredibly important for fans and members of the media to start to think about, to say, okay, well, instead of saying, hey, Cam, you never won a Super Bowl, that pretense right there automatically triggers something. Instead of that, it's like, hey, your experience at the Super Bowl, what could you have done differently that you didn't do? Leaning into the respectful way, rather than saying you never had one of these, so you're bitter, you're mad, and I think that narrative is not something that should be given or needs more highlight on that whole regard. So,
well, it really depends on how you frame it, because I can be critical of you but be respectful of you. And I think and sometimes that's the tightrope that we walk, because once again, I go back to, you guys do something that I can't do, but it doesn't mean I can't appreciate it. It doesn't mean I can't be critical of it, but I also have to be respectful of you. And I think sometimes that's lost on us, because how many times do you have somebody say something and then they don't realize that you heard it, or somebody heard it, and then it gets back to you, and by the time it gets back to you, after your buddy tells you, and then your buddy tells your other buddy, and then you're like, what the hell is he? Let me at him. And I think trying to frame it in a respectful way takes more time, takes more effort, but I think it allows you to have a conversation with that athlete. I don't want to interrogate you. I want to have a conversation with you. And if we can go back and forth, and we can talk about that Super Bowl, and when did you know you were in trouble? Like, I'm gonna start, picking away a little bit, peeling the onion back, the layers, but I'm not going to do it in a, direct, disrespectful way.
yeah.
I want answers. They may not be comfortable answers for you, but I think that you can respect me asking in a way that I'm curious, and any great interviewer is curious. And I am really curious with everybody. And I think if you have that, then I hope that my track record's pretty good after 4 decades.
Yeah.
So my approach is the way I came in is the way I'm going out.
And as we talk about, curiosity in journalism, a great journalist can answer the questions of the whys and the whats, right? And it's similar like a detective. And just from your 43 years of experience, like, could you share with us like a story of how far you went to actually get the quote unquote story or answer the what and why in a situation?
Lawrence Taylor had been suspended for cocaine use. And I was there and I was trying to cover this story. And Lawrence Taylor was at the Giants facility. He met with all the print writers. So he didn't meet with anybody from TV. And I was working at CNN at the time. And he came out and he had this dark blue Porsche. And and I had my camera there. And I said, Lawrence, can you read that statement on camera? And he didn't say anything. And then he walked a little bit and I walked up. I said, Lawrence, Dan Patrick, CNN, can you read that on camera for me, please? Because he did that for the print media. And I thought, okay. And then he said, get the real story. And I said, I already talked to your agent, which I did. I had called his agent prior to this saying, I'm going to be there. And then Lawrence continued to walk. And I said, Lawrence. And then he turned. He had these dark sunglasses. I could see the whites of his eyes through those sunglasses. And I said to my cameraman, Ricky, I said, Ricky, roll on it if he hits me. And I asked him one more time, and he kept walking, got in his car, and peeled out. And I was like, oh, my God. But I had to I was trying to get the story. I wasn't being disrespectful. I asked his agent. He had already done this for the print media. And I thought, gosh. Whew. And that's one of those where your heart's racing. But I did the right thing. I did it in the right way. I didn't get my story.
No. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that was intrusive?
No.
Okay.
He already read a statement to the print media. Why is that intrusive? If you're not reading, you're reading something for them, why can't you read something for TV? Yeah. To me, there was it wasn't like he was being suspended. Here's the best defensive player in the game, and he's being suspended. It was a big story. And all I wanted was him to read the statement that he gave to the print media. Nothing more.
I think oftentimes this is extremely important in any story, right? Perspective. Being in the public eye, having public ridicule, there's things that a person may say, man, I'll never do that. Or why did he say that? Or what was the story behind certain things? From the athlete's perspective, you could always say, Cam, I heard you say this. What's your thought process on that? Mm-hmm. I don't think a lot of people know what they're actually doing from asking for a picture at the worst opportune time, or to just be able to say like, hey, can we talk about certain things that it may be too sensitive for a person to kind of delve into properly, right? So that's why I asked the question of, do you think that it was intrusive? You were giving or painting the picture of him walking to his car. I know how that feels from the athlete. Once I say, okay, any more questions? Boom, it's over with. I'm in a different phase of Cam, and I don't want to go back. I don't want to talk. I don't want to, give you what you need because you weren't there when I was giving what you needed, right? And is that
I wasn't allowed? I wasn't allowed in that room.
Right.
It was only print. I was not allowed to have a camera in there, and that's why I was saying I'm trying to do my job. If you let me in that room, I'm not asking you this on the way to your car. And you're right. A lot of times I'll have athletes on or coaches on or managers on because I want them to tell me why they said something. Yeah. I want to put it in context. How many times does somebody say, oh, you're taking it out of context? Yeah. Put it in context. I'm all for that. Let me understand exactly what you mean by this. But I mean, I'm not one of those gotcha journalists or reporters or TMZ, or I don't do any of that. But that was a huge story. And if LT had just said, "Hey, I'll do it to one camera, you guys can share the video," fine. But that he didn't do that. Therefore, I thought I have to at least get this story, or at least try to.
Well, there's certain things that you have to think about too, Uncle Dontavius. It wasn't the best story to be told if a person is being suspended for cocaine. I mean, we can't even use that on YouTube, let alone, you know what I'm saying, in the climate of what New York media is. But that brings up a fair point. Have you ever had an Ahmad Rashad MJ relationship with an athlete that you felt like, hey, no, that Cam didn't say that. Matter of fact, hey, Cam, or blah, blah, like, take me through, you know, what really happened, and you had that journalist-athlete relationship that we've seen oftentimes in sports.
Yeah, it's a great point. I was friends with Mark McGwire, and so I interviewed him a few times for SportsCenter. I became friends with him, and all of a sudden, the home run chase with Sammy Sosa, and then all of a sudden we got steroids, and now I had to make a conscious decision to do my job. And this hurt my relationship with Jason Giambi as well, because I was friends with him. And then there were, PEDs, there were steroids. And I think both thought, wait a minute, we're friends. I made the mistake of having a friendship with them. In retrospect, I think I got caught up in, oh, hey, that's Mark. He's my friend, or Jason Giambi. And I learned a really valuable lesson. And I've learned that you have to have some separation there. If you're going to do your job, you have to have separation. Now, have I gotten more information? Have I gotten more access because of that? And I did with athletes. But I just wanted to be careful, because there are a lot of times when you get behind the velvet rope and you don't like what you're seeing or hearing, and then you're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Would you do it again?
No.
So covering the Giambi and the McGwire, you would not report that, given the same circumstance. Mm-hmm. Would you report it again?
I would continue to report it, or I wouldn't be friends with them.
Okay. So
I wouldn't socialize with them.
Between you all. But
I wouldn't socialize.
But even that's what I'm saying, like, when is the story more important than the person? Like, in what situation, if ever, that it's like, I have to report this story? Like, I know the person, but this story has to come out. So, like, how do you balance that? Like, when does the story become more important than the person?
Always. That's my job. That's my job. Yeah. If it's legitimate that what you're covering, I don't give you gossip that, hey, I'm hearing, or I saw him with her, and I couldn't care less. But if I'm doing my job, then I have to do that. That's what I signed up for. I do this. The friendship came because of what I do for a living. And I just have to be careful with that. And look, I understand when I was doing SportsCenter, I mean, we were stars. It's mid-90s. I'm interviewing Michael Jordan after every game in the NBA final. I mean, I'm doing okay. And you get caught up in it. And all of a sudden you're more important than what you think. And then, hey, Jerry Seinfeld's coming up to say hello. And then you have this guy coming up, and that guy, and you're like, I think I'm a big deal. And then you get out, you start to color outside the lines, and then you go, what am I doing? Okay? This all goes away one day. Do your damn job. And I got caught up in it for a couple of years. But my wife always kind of, gets me back into reality. She's always great. Always says the right thing. And she helped me with that. She said, don't forget who you are instead of, who you want to be. Like, that I want to be more. Sandler's putting me in movies. I'm in music videos with Hootie and the Blowfish. And all of a sudden, you're living like a star.
Yeah.
And I wasn't getting paid like a star, I will say that, but I was treated that way. But I still have a job to do, and I want to be respectful to people. But what you do in your private life, personal life, I couldn't care less, because that's where you have to draw the line.
Man, I'm actually, and that's gospel to my heart in some ways, because I'm in that phase right now where I just met with my team, right? And first and foremost, what we've been able to create and to give fans with not creating different storylines, but just changing how we look about certain storylines. That's addictive. That's what journalists do. It's the journalistic touchdown, so to speak, that you can be like, man, boom, hey, everybody's liking it. Everybody's enjoying this. Everybody is enjoying the content. But that comes with a price. I've had so many conversations with individuals that say, hey, Cam, I didn't appreciate what you said. Hey, Cam, the weight of your voice is so strong and so impactful that what you said is in some ways true, but it affects my business. It affects how people look at me. And, me getting into this space of media was, number one, pushed and led by one word: accountability. And I tell it through my eyes and how I view it. And that's my opinion. That doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it wrong. That just gives a different perspective to the viewer. And it has cost me relationships. It has made the person look at me like, no, I don't want to talk to him. He the ops. Or I don't want to talk to Dan, but Dan's going to do certain things that's only conducive to, the Dan Patrick show, right? But am I doing my job? Did I do the job? Did I give the viewer a perspective that they normally would not have had? That's the only thing that I care about. I do also care about relationships. And that's where the lines can get blurred, because you have an affinity to a person. You become a fan of the person, but that doesn't negate the facts of the story that you have to tell.
But, okay, you have to decide what your job is.
Yeah.
Who do you want to be? What do you want to be? And then if you decide on that, now, because a lot of people don't know who they are or what they want to be. If you go, hey, this is who I am, and never cheat on doing homework, always tell somebody something that they didn't see, they didn't hear. Let us in on secrets there. And yes, if you're criticizing or you're critical, you're going to have people who are going to be a little upset, as you would be if somebody was doing that to you. But if you do it in a professional way and you let people know, this is my opinion on Russell Wilson, then give your opinion. Because if Russ is honest, he'll probably say, yep, you were right. Some of those jump ball throws to Malik Neighbors are bad. But I love that you reached out and said, I want to be great. Now that impressed me. You wanted to learn, and you still have to learn how to interview. You have to learn to be brief. This is not a 7-step drop. This is get it and get it out. It's Brady 2 seconds and get the ball out. Get that question and then let somebody talk to you. And that to me will help you with your interviewing. Get to the point. Let that person talk, because I had to decide. People say, oh, you ask great questions. And I said, well, how are the answers? And really, that's all this is about. is your answers. And are you listening to someone's answer? Because 80% of the time, my next question has to do with what you just said. And if you do that, now you have a conversation. Now you're not interrogating or interviewing. You're just talking. And when I had you on that first time, you were giving, and all I was trying to do was just talk to you. And all of a sudden, I'm slicing and dicing, and I got Cam on the run, and I'm like, I loved that you didn't realize what you were giving until I think you were done. And you're like, damn, what just happened? And I had great respect for. Is that the feeling you had?
No, it wasn't. But no, I have so much admiration to greatness, and I think oftentimes we only compare greatness with tangible things, right? But
you didn't think that you were sharing, and then I'm just asking brief questions, and I'm getting you to talk, because it felt like you were trying to understand. Oh, okay, yeah, because my goal was just to. I wanted to be brief, but I wanted to keep, kind of pecking away and going, all right, got something there, change directions, come back, all of those, having a game plan. And that's what I wanted you to understand every time, every interview, every single one. What's the game plan? What do you want? What do you got?
But that right there showed me that there's levels. And when people have strategy, it's not asking the question of, it's not what question you're asking, it's how you're asking that question.
Yes.
And have you earned the right to ask that question? I would say there's not a question that's off limits if you preface it the right way. If I were to ask you a question that's so personal that you may deem as disrespectful, and you say, hey, and I'm just using this as an example. Hey, Mr. Dan, you just filed for divorce. What's the deal with that? That's disrespectful. But if our relationship is in a situation where, like, hey, first off, I would ask, can I ask this question? And two, to say, hey, I'm dealing with similar things, so we can almost trauma bond a little bit, but what's your perspective on what you went through, right? Those type of techniques and tactics are what people miss oftentimes in media, right? And it's not what's being asked, it's how it's being asked and the strategy behind it. And you've definitely taught me that. And I'm constantly learning and always, amazed by your ability to, you just said it, ask the question and get out the way, right? Because
open-ended question. I want to know, I want you to tell me how, why, where, when, who. I don't want to have a statement where you can just go, or a question where you go, yes or no. Correct. I want you talking. And when I got you talking, I asked this question to Steve Young yesterday. And I said, what do you hear when you step up in the pocket? And he looked at me and he's like, yeah, I don't know. Well, I used to hear Reggie White yelling at me, and I would tell him, Reggie, stop yelling at me. But he said, you don't hear anything in the pocket. And then he kind of stopped and he goes, I never been asked that question before. And once again, we want to get as close to the action. Like, how did that feel? Or, I talked to Jim Harbaugh about that throw that Justin Herbert had, going left, throwing back right, touchdown. That's, a crazy play. And I'm asking Jim, what was he thinking watching that? And you can't help but go, I thought it was a bad throw, but it turned out to be one of the incredible throws. Like, all you want to do is let me get a question, let me get you talking, and now I get to follow up with you. And that's the fun part of it. It's a chess game. That's what this is. And you have to view it that way. If I ask this, where's that leading? I kind of know what your answers are. I just have to piece it all together. It's a Rubik's Cube of how's it going to start out and how's it going to end. And if you have that approach and you have the time to ask the questions, that's the fun part. Every interview you do, Cam, every single interview, you should say to yourself, what are people going to remember? And if there's nothing that stood out, then you didn't do your job. Every single interview, you should say, what about that? Do you think people care about that? I didn't know that. That's the approach I have every single interview that I have.
Yeah. So before you get out of here, Uncle Dantavius, I'm sorry. I will ask you this. Who won in the trade, or has that been displayed yet? The Packers or the Cowboys?
Well, I deal in the now because, when you got draft picks and, that's future and that's potential and that I look at the now. Green Bay's ready to win now. They won the trade because they got Micah Parsons. Dallas maybe wins in 3 years, maybe. But the now, Green Bay won easily, handily, because they got one of the 5 disruptors in the game. And he helps you with a defense that was already good, a team that was already good at sacking, and they now are a legitimate chance to win the Super Bowl, where Dallas is probably going to be one of the 5 worst teams in the NFL this year.
No, BS. No.
Wait, you're not on First Take where you have to talk about the Cowboys here, Cam.
No. And I had to check myself. I've never been a fan of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm a fan.
Well, that doesn't mean you don't talk about the Dallas Cowboys. You guys have to talk about the Cowboys on First Take every day.
Why is that, though?
Because they're a popular team.
They moved the needle.
Well,
but okay, has any team gotten no team comes close to getting more attention for doing less than the Dallas Cowboys.
That is
right?
True.
Is that a strategy, or is that by any merit?
No, that's a strategy by ESPN because you look at the analytics. They play the hits. That's all they're doing. You can work. When I was there, I did the same thing. How do we work LeBron in the show? How do we work the Cowboys in the show? It's the same things that you're looking to play the hits. I get it. I thank God I don't have a boss that makes me do that because I couldn't do it.
So what do you look for now, though?
Whatever I'm interested in. I did 10 minutes, 12 minutes on the 31st anniversary of Shawshank Redemption today.
Do you remember that movie, Peg?
Nah, piece by piece. I know I've heard of the movie.
Oh, my God. It's one of the great movies of all time. You got Red and Andy Dufresne.
It's a little, but different.
Wait, you don't like Shawshank Redemption?
It's just a depiction of the black person. That's all.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You still want to come to the cookout?
I'm not.
There's a cookout.
I'm not walking.
Now. We trying to help you, Uncle Dan.
I'm not going to be judging. I'm not judging any macaroni salad. I'm not walking in and going, "Hey, how about that Shawshank Redemption?"
Yeah. No. That'll get you.
That'll get you on the way out. Hey, drop them cups, Uncle Dan. Come on.
Yeah, drop
that
take
them cups.
Yeah, we're going to whoop you out them cigars, too.
Wait, I got the big cups. I'm bringing the big cups. Come on. Okay. All right. So I spent 12 minutes on Shawshank Redemption and how that's in some parts of the country it's a great movie, but not to everybody. Not everybody likes Shawshank. That's for sure.
You might get shanked.
Hey, last question, Peg. What you got, bro?
Man, I wanted to really jump in.
I just got shanked. Didn't I just get shanked there? It feels.
No, he did. That's what people gonna take away from it. Fortunately and unfortunately.
Yeah, I know.
That's
Damn.
a good thing. So I can answer your question. What are people gonna take away? If I didn't know about Shawshank Redemption, now I'm going to be intrigued to see what Cam was talking about. Like,
correct.
Oh, okay. And is that some truth to it? And we go from there. But I want to be respectful of your time. Obviously, Peggy has a question, and then we'll go from there.
Oh, okay.
Don't want to keep you too long. I know earlier Cam was discussing how media would crucify, obviously, players. But being on the opposite side now, Cam, and then obviously Dan, they are in this day and age of media too. Like obviously, media personalities are crucified and criticized as well. And it's starting to seem like it's a certain level of weight. But what type of weight does a media personality really carry within the criticism? Because I know players play bad, they get crucified. You make a strong take, you get crucified. But it's a certain level that when you walk in the rooms, oh, I don't like what he said. I don't know if I can speak freely around this person. But is it certain tangible things that we don't even think about in the world that being a media personality that you have to deal with day in and day out?
Well, I think you got to be careful of people on social media. I'm not on social media, but as long as people are respectful and people don't say things or threaten, you put your big boy pants on. I mean, I get to go to this job.
Yeah.
I don't have to. I get to. And why not have fun with it, celebrate it? I mean, there are times when, you got to be a little more critical, but for the most part, I want to talk about the positives. I'm trying to look at what is good and fun and different, exciting. This guy, keep an eye on this guy. That team, that's the approach that I have. I don't go, not enough negative stuff. Shit, we gotta get some stuff in here. That's not what I do. I grew up celebrating sports, and that's the way I've always approached this.
Perfect.
Well, Uncle Dan, that's our time.
Oh!
Man, listen. Thank you.
Dan
Appreciate you.
Tavius, Caldwell
Always.
Pope Patrick. Yep, I got my Cam jersey here. Next time I gotta get this thing signed, man. I don't have an autograph.
Something signed too. You can't be the only one on the receiving end of authentic, timeless paraphernalia there. Uncle
Oh
Dan.
my God! You should see this man cave. You should see this man cave.
How about this? I'm working on trying to get more brand deals. If you just drop the info for that Mercedes-Benz brand deal that you got over there, and then we'll call it.
What kind of ride do you have?
I would love a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter.
Yeah. Same here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I have the S-Class.
C-Class, Maybach, it don't matter.
Oh,
if
whoa.
Uncle Dan's sending the deets, then it is what it is. You see what I'm saying?
See, you got to go back to college, and then you could get one of those.
No. we can't go back in time.
Oh, we can't go back.
That's Shawshank.
That's Shawshank.
You're shaking me now. You're shaking me, Uncle Dan. Watch out there now.
No, this was the NIL.
I can't do
This is the new NIL. You'd be getting that.
Yeah,
you'd be playing at Colorado with Dion, and you'd be getting a Maybach.
Yeah. But in Colorado, I've heard that they boot Maybachs and Rolls Royces, but that's a whole nother situation. But there we go.
I'm coming to the cookout. You let me know, and I'm bringing noise.
Say less. Looking forward to it. Uncle Dan, ladies and gentlemen, Dan Patrick.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. See you, man.
Yes, sir.